All right, now to our NFL Week 8 Sunday slate. Pick 6. We got 14 games on Sunday. It's going to be a great weekend in the National Football League. And a reminder of how the Pick 6 works. It's our favorite touchdown scorer of the weekend. A Moneyline underdog we think can strike the outright upset. Our favorite under of the weekend. An alt line with a sprinkle of plus money. Our favorite yardage prop of the week. And we combine forces for a 2-leg 6-point teaser. And Joe, would you look at that? Our favorite anytime TD prop is the same exact guy. Please begin and tell the people who it is.
Well, pretty simple stuff, although I will add, I think it's absolutely disgusting that Coach Mike McDaniel of the Miami Dolphins couldn't somehow scheme together anything up for Tyreek Hill while Tua was out to make him even remotely close to looking like a weapon. While Tua is back, and yes, I think he's going to have plenty enough opportunities to get one into the end zone here. So at plus money or even close to even money, Ben, I don't see how we don't back Tyreek here.
Joe, we talked about this number last week. Tyreek Hill was plus 170 to find Pater in Indianapolis against the Colts. We thought with Snoop Huntley off a bye week, more preparation, a prove-it spot if Mike McDaniel is the offensive genius that he claims, but is clearly proven he is not without Tua Tagovailoa as his starting quarterback. They got the ball to Tyreek Hill once. It was unfathomable. But Tyreek Hill has already said, hey, fantasy owners, I hope you didn't trade me. I hope you didn't release me. I am back. He has one receiving touchdown this year. It was week number 1. In the only full game that Tagovailoa played, he had 7 grabs for 130 yards and a score. He scores again at plus 105 in this matchup against a bad Cardinals defense. And, Joe, what's fascinating is part of this is also number-driven. Plus 105, if Tua remains healthy and Tyreek Hill starts to look like the Tyreek Hill that we had seen, the NFL's leading receiver a year ago, this number's no longer plus 105 in about 2 to 3 weeks. It's minus 135. It's minus 140. It's minus 150. So let's take advantage while we can. Oh, my goodness. I had not looked at your Moneyline underdog just yet.
Oh.
Are you kidding me?
Oh.
Are you kidding?
Oh, my goodness.
Explain yourself, friend.
Are you okay here, Ben? You all right? Well, it's really not, it's not that crazy to think here, guys. If it's one thing that we know with the history of Mike Tomlin and these Steelers is that they rise to the occasion against better competition. They are absolutely trash when it comes to playing teams that they are favored by 3 points or more after a win. And face it, let's go. That number, 7-30 against the number here. That's what we get from Mike Tomlin's Steelers. They notoriously make these games way closer or, Ben, lose them outright. And the Giants are the contrarian of contrarian plays here in this spot. And we all know everyone's going to run to the window to back Pittsburgh. Not me. This is exactly the kind of game where everyone's running left. I want to run right. We've already seen, everyone thought the same thing with the Giants taking on, what was it, Seattle in that primetime game? Remember how that worked out for Seattle? Yeah, it knocked half the people out of the survivor pool. It would not shock me if the Giants not only cover this game, but win it outright here, Ben.
Goodness gracious, my friend. The stone's on you. I do appreciate Monday night in the Steel City. The Steelers in prime time once again, hosting a team that plays its football in East Rutherford, New Jersey, the New York Giants. I will say this about the G-Men. They were last booked as a favorite week 2 last year against the Arizona Cardinals. They have now been an underdog in 22 consecutive games. Monday night will be 23 in a row. They've been a pretty decent cover team, 11-10-1 against the spread. Only those 7 outright wins in that span. Maybe it happens this week. I can't believe my Moneyline underdog is what it is either, but I go to the Cowboys at plus 176 on Sunday night in Santa Clara. I'm going to have to see the 49ers offense cook with Jacob Cowing as the leading receiver before I buy into the very idea that it will. I don't believe in the narrative that Brock Purdy is a game manager and the beneficiary of Kyle Shanahan and all the offensive pieces. I just think that this is going to be very difficult to have offensive success because of the injuries across the board. And Dallas is a 3-win football team. They're 3-3. Where have all 3 of those wins come? Away from Dallas, where you're not worried about being on display in Jerry World. And 2 of those 3 victories outright as a road underdog. Give me the Cowboys at plus 176 on that money line.
Both these teams need a win in a bad way here, but coming off the bye, they might have, who back? Parsons, a little help on the defensive side coming back. Maybe this is exactly what the Cowboys need to get it going again this season.
They do, Joe, right? They're the worst or second worst scoring defense in the NFL, allowing 28 points per game. Only Carolina is worse. And again, if we are comparing your statistical outputs to the Panthers, it is not the sign of a playoff team. Hopefully in that bye week, not only is Micah Parsons returning, but Mike Zimmer made sure everybody understands the defensive scheme. We shall see. More of the NFL Week 8 Pick 6 comes away next. Our NFL Week 8 Pick 6 rolls on as we go through the Sunday slate here on the early line on SportsGrid. He is Joe. I am Ben. We have done our favorite touchdown scorer, a moneyline dog we think can pull off the upset. Now we go to our favorite under of the weekend. Joe, which game are you targeting, and what is that total?
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier, Ben. I saw it in front of me, and it is worrisome here with the Tampa Bay Bucs here. Losing Godwin and Evans changes the dynamic of everything that they were doing offensively this year under Liam Cohn, the new offensive coordinator. And we did start to see what happens when Baker Mayfield has to do too much, right? Has to shoulder the load. That was not a good showing there. They are at home. It is a revenge spot against Atlanta, but they're both starting quarterbacks out for Tampa. Exactly what Atlanta did in the first game, they're going to be able to do against this Tampa Bay defense. The problem is everything that Tampa did in that first game, in that wild shootout, is off the table. They are going to need to control the clock. They are not going to want to get into any sort of shootout here with Atlanta. They are going to have to run the ball, run it effectively, and own time of possession if they're going to have a shot. I think Atlanta wins. But I don't think this is going to be any wild, crazy shootout. The market appears to agree, Ben, because this thing was 48 and a half, and we're starting to see 45 and a half, 46s. So, and I think with good reason, because Tampa will not be able to keep up with Atlanta in a shootout.
Joe, I've shared with you a few times. I looked at the Falcons this year as a scoring output type of team. Their first over of the year came the week before that Thursday night game against the Buccaneers in a game they did not score an offensive touchdown and still played to an over against New Orleans. This game against the Bucs was a shootout we did not expect on a short week Thursday night game in the A, 36-30 in overtime. But things have calmed down a little bit for the Falcons as of late. One of the 3 games last weekend that had a total of 50-plus stayed under in a loss against Seattle. Baker Mayfield has 18 touchdown passes this year. That's best in the National Football League. But the last 2 weeks, 5 interceptions to boot. Did not throw an interception against Atlanta in the first meeting. 3 touchdowns, but only 180 yards. The key for the Bucs is for Baker to play clean football, something he did not do against Baltimore, despite in a spot where they should have been up by double digits, and Baker then threw 2 picks in his next 3 passes. My favorite under of the weekend, almost thought about alting this under 35.5, 36.5, Saints, Chargers, under 40 and a hook. The Chargers have played 1 over in 6 games this year. It was a 23-16 win where the Broncos were trailing by 20 and came back to score late points in the fourth quarter to score 37 to go over a total of 35 and a half. Last week, Joe, for the Bolts, it was their highest total of the year, 44 and a half on Monday in the desert. They stayed well under with 32 total points. I think LA saw last week And despite Justin Herbert throwing the football nearly 40 times and for nearly 350 yards in a losing effort, they are going to jam into the mind of everybody in this organization. We run them to death. Death by 1,000 paper cuts or at least 1,000 J.K. Dobbins rushing attempts against a Saints defense that is banged up and a Saints offense that, with Spencer Rattler making his third consecutive start, I'm not sure has a lot. I think the Chargers control tempo, control game clock, control time of possession to undo what happened to them last week. I think the Chargers win this game comfortably, and I think they win it comfortably like 23-10, if even that. Give me the under of 40.5 in L.A.
Yeah, only way you can look, man. I mean, the Chargers allowing 13.8 points a game. They're not even allowing 2 touchdowns a game, this defense here. And the Saints certainly aren't going to help that average to go up. So I'm with you here. Run, Chargers, and run yourself right into an under, because I'm with you on that one.
It is the emphasis of this organization. It is where they play their best football. Many people would look at a quarterback throwing for nearly 350 and having a passer rating of 97 and say, fantastic. What, do we beat them by 4 touchdowns? Not the Chargers. In fact, they lost that football game. Alt line with some plus money and a familiar name in the alt line position. Again, Gervinary, who gets your attention?
Oh, boy. Yeah, the alt line for me is I'm going to go to, let's see here. Well, that was from last week, so that's all right. But I am going to go with, that I don't think Montgomery's even playing.
That's why
here,
it looked familiar.
Yeah. That's why it was familiar. And by the way, he got hurt last week early in that game and messed us all up for that prop.
Jahmyr
Detroit did
multiple
end up winning. Thank you very much. I just had the right game, just the wrong running back in that one here. But I am going to go same situation here. And you saw what's coming up there on my yardage prop. I think it correlates because I'm going to go over over 2.5 touchdowns here for Stroud. Because I do think this is the kind of game where he bounces back after throwing less than 100 yards last week. I think he bounces back with his legs, and I think he bounces back with his arm against an Indy defense that's less than admirable. So I do think he usually gets right in this game against Indy. I think he gets right. I think he can run, and I think he can throw a few touchdowns in this game.
3+ passing TDs for C.J. Stroud, plus 370. Again, 86 yards. That's it against Green Bay.
Yep.
You would think if the Texans can win this divisional duel comfortably, it's a lot of C.J. Stroud. Short week for Houston following Sunday. Road trip to MetLife to take on the New York Jets, their second short week Thursday night football game in the last month and a half. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers has some thoughts on the scheduling logistics behind that. Alt line for me, Ravens, Browns, over 48.5, plus 144. Baltimore over in 6 of 7 games, over in 3 in a row. All 3 have featured a total of 48.5 or higher. Listen, Joe, when you look at this Ravens team, they've won 5 straight. Their scoring defense ain't great. They're allowing more than 25 points per game. That's not Baltimore defense-esque. And the Browns are not a great offense. They've been under in 5 of 7. But that's where you let Jameis just go rip it. He throws 2 touchdowns. He throws 2 pick sixes. We see a lot of points in the land. Over 48.5. We round out the pick 6 next. We round out our Week 8 NFL Pick 6 with our final 2 plays. Our favorite yardage prop of the Sunday slate, and we combine forces for a 2-leg, 6-point teaser to round out this Football Friday. Ranieri, after starting 0-5, we're on a hot streak, my friend. 2 consecutive teasers have come through and hit. Didn't love the tease spots this week, but we'll talk about that in just a moment. You talked about C.J. Stroud, alt money, 3+ passing touchdowns at plus 370. If you wanted to make it simple, focusing on C.J. Stroud, where are you looking?
Yeah, I'm going to go strictly in the air and the passing attack here, which is something they are going to need him to be much better at this week than he was last week here. So I absolutely expect we're going to get better. In fact, Stroud averages over 311 passing yards a game at home over his, brief career here. And he also averages about 300 yards a game versus Indy here. So I think that 241 number is a little bit low. He did throw for 234 against them in week 1. And that was when they ran the ball 40 times in that game. I don't think that's happening here. I do think Stroud has gone over this number in 9 of his last 11 home games. I don't see how he doesn't go over in this one against Indy.
Listen, there's been some conversation about that sophomore slump for C.J. Stroud. The NFL learning a lot about the young quarterback for Houston. Does Bobby Slowick let him rip this week to prove the naysayers wrong? Maybe so. I do enjoy that look. I'm also going to a quarterback over their passing yards prop. Jordan Love over 258.5 against Jacksonville. Love over this in his first 2 games, one in Sao Paulo against the Eagles, and of course in a large comeback effort against the Minnesota Vikings. 258 2 weeks ago, just slightly under by the hook against the Arizona Cardinals. But it's not so much about the gunslinger that Jordan Love has emerged to be. It's about the Jags, Joe. Second worst passing defense in the NFL, allowing 274 yards per game. 5 of the 7 QBs the Jags have faced this year over this number, including Drake May in his second career start in London, 276. Joe Flacco, 359. C.J. Stroud had 345 against Jacksonville. Josh Allen, 263. Tua Tagovailoa in his first fully healthy game of the year, 338. Jordan Love, 258 and a hook, 275 plus, 300 plus for Green Bay in Duval County on Sunday. All right. 2-leg, 6-point teaser. Let's round out the show. I will just say, again, did not love the tease spots. There's a bunch of big spreads where it doesn't really make sense to the 6-point tease because you're not getting through key numbers. Not all that great. This was the one spot I considered as well, Joe. Your leg of the teaser, but I've been burned by the New York Jets too many times. Why will the Jets at least win in Foxborough?
Listen, I'm not running to the window to lay a touchdown with the Jets in any way, shape, or form, but I'm only asking them in this spot to win this game, and I think they can do that. Given what they have returning, including we'll finally see Hassan Reddick on the field, it appears, here in a Jets uniform as they came to an agreement finally. So that will help the defense. DJ Reed will be back in. Michael Carter will be back in. The whole back end of the secondary will be there for the Jets again, making life difficult for May. They should and have to win this game. I think they will. I'll lay 1. I won't lay 7.
Listen, I'm going to be a believer in Baker Mayfield one final time on Sunday. I think the Bucs have a slight bit of juice against the Falcons. I understand the defensive concerns. I know all of the offensive injuries. That's why I'm going to move the Bucs up to an 8.5-point dog through 3, through 7, and just hope Tampa loses this game by 7 points or less. They're 11-6 against the spread as an underdog with Baker Mayfield as their starting quarterback. They need to have something, Joe. If they are going to make this season worth anything, you do not want to keep dropping divisional games against the team you are going to be looking up at. If Atlanta wins this one, it's over by the time we reach November in terms of who would have that tiebreaker. It would be the Falcons in front of the Bucs. One last bit of resolve. We won 2 consecutive teasers. Hopefully we make it 3. What a weekend of football in store, Joe Ranieri.
Yeah, I love it, and it correlates with the under I have in the game.
True.
So give me the points, give me the under, and I think we'll cash another teaser this week, Ben. I'm confident.
I will see you tomorrow for some Saturday college football. We will get you straight for the Week 9 Saturday slate. On the early line, we'll see you Monday, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Have a great weekend.